My honey, hello my baby, hello my ragtime gal. Let's see here. I gotta fix this. Tools, scripts. Let's go. So 8 plus 5 is 7. 7 times 60. 420. Boom. All right. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are watching this after the fact, when that timer hits 0, we will be moving on with the story. But in the meantime, in the in-between time, as one of my favorite DJs once said, we are going to get our warm-up done. Now, I wrote all day. I worked on Crypt Book 2 all friggin' day. And so we're a little bit behind preparing for what I think is going to be one of the funnest deep cuts we have ever done, when Ariel Girl herself and I are going to dive into current NFL players who match up and correspond with GFL, Galactic Football League stars. And we'll be finishing up, of course, with who is the current Quentin Barnes. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Scott Sigler Slices. You're all fantastic and smell an awful lot like flowers. We also had some inputs on this from my nephew, Tyler Sigler IV, who got to play for the Arizona Cardinals a few years back. So he brought in a little bit of heat for us. And we sort of, frankly, A and I we're having so much fun figuring out who the current players are. We sort of ran out of time. Again, if you're coming in after the fact and watching this, and if you want to hear me blab, I'm an excellent blabber. Some say I am the best blabber that has ever been. But if you just want to cut forward to the story, go ahead till that number there reaches 0, and we have got you. Tonight's read is Slay Season 3, Episode 4, Up into Club. It's going to be great. If you are on YouTube, please click like. Of course, hit that bell so you can see this smiling face and this mellifluous voice as soon as they pop up. And make sure you are subscribed. Believe it or not, that crap matters, at least for now, until social media does another 180 and who knows what's going to happen next. We live in a world of oligarchs, my friends. And you know what? In the business I'm in, kind of gotta cater. Marble Gargler, how are you? Rich No 3, good to see you, sir. Cobalt in the house. Recluse Mage, I know nothing of the NFL or the GFL, so sitting back. Recluse Mage, read the goddamn Rookie, for fuck's sake. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to ask you again. Trust me. Trust me. And Dr. Danny Bigger, PhD in the house. What's up, brother? Cobalt. 4X, hello, love. How are you? Who else we got? Scott Aitken in the house. Christine M. Love it. Sean Dyer, as always, reliable. Edward Rocco. Who else we got? Did I miss anybody? I think that's everybody for now. That's great. Well, Daryl Harris. Daryl, we got your lovely, lovely present. I'm not going to lie. As soon as that came in, I wasn't sure if I should put that on or not because it threw off my incredibly paranoid superstition for the Lions, but it was beautiful and we appreciate it. Like it a lot. Jenna Lee in the house. Ross the boss in the house. What is up, everyone? Hard to believe. Abby, what's up, girl? What's going on? Ian Sequel in the house. Oh my God. I'm so happy. It's been a rough day of news, you guys. Yet another rough day watching the nation I grew up in change into something else, or possibly it has always been this all along. I don't know. I am not a political pundit. I am a storyteller. And I'm here to tell you a story tonight that I believe you will enjoy. I think it's super fun, and we should have us a grand old time. All right. Bruce Bach in the motherfucking his house. What's up, BB? How you doing, man? We got people flooding in. Again, don't want to hear this blab? Fast forward to 0. You will be good. If you've just shown up on YouTube, click the like, smack the bell, subscribe, be a brother, and also, leave comments. It's all good. Okay. Got a little yawn from me here. So I have just spent the last hour coming up with current NFL players who most closely match to your favorite Galactic Football League stars. And it got intense. A and I really got into it. She's got a couple picks in there, picked a couple positions. So we're going to do that. Ross the Boss, update on Crypt 2 or GFL 7. Crypt Book 2 is, we're going to catch that in housekeeping after the story. But Crypt Book 2 is, second draft is about 70% complete. My goal is to have that out the door by close of business on January 31st. Not sure if that's going to happen, but it will happen close to that. Then that's going to go to Chris Grawl and the other secret agents of military experience to review. It'll go to John Viscara for a second continuity pass. And and then GFL 7, it goes Crypt Book 2 second draft out the door. Then we have Crypt Book 3 second draft. By the time I finish that, Crypt Book 2 final draft should be in, and then we send that off to the publisher. Then I jump into GFL 7 final draft, send that off to the publisher, which is A. And then finish up GFL Book 3 second draft. It's a madhouse in 2025, and we already have our first title slated for 2026, except I'm not allowed to tell you that yet. If you recall other books that I'm not allowed to talk to you about, you can connect the dots. So I'm not saying nothing. I ain't saying a goddamn thing. I'm just saying our first book for 2026 is already slated. It might be from a publisher called Titan. I don't know. Who also did the Aliens Phalanx story. So if you're detectives, if you can do detective work, if you're a Columbo, you go and you do your thing. But no Jessica Fletcher, because nobody died for this shit. Slated. Marble Gargler says slated. Oh my God, I totally fucking forgot. Of course, we have Slay Book 2 coming out in 2024 as well. Print, ebook, audiobook. And we're working on the print release of Slay. Oh, I'm supposed to tell you all this shit later. All right, here we go. All right, we got to calm the F down a little bit, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go to Maine, and we are going to jump right into the business right now. Ian, don't fuck with me. I meant 2025. I'm not good with numbers. I'm not good with time, dates, any of this shit. Oh, real quick. Got my new cashmere sweater for the cold that is my office, because we have a new advertiser, quince.com. We'll tell you more about it later, but if you want to get free return, you want to get free shipping and returns for 365 days, it's quince.com, quinc.com/Sigler, Sigler. We'll get to that. We'll get to that in a minute. But for now, let's read you guys a story. I can't wait. I'm so excited. Rob and I are pumped for this episode. Don't know if Rob is in the house, but he helped out beyond a ton with this. Okay, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get recording. Bear with me, players. We're going to go right now. We got recording. We're good to go there. Check, checkity, check, check. And let us begin. Previously on Slay. When Lincoln, Billy, and Shitbird took out Meredith, the murdering shapeshifter, they collected 2 treasures from the monster, Pandora's pendant and an ancient bronze blade. Now, Lincoln is on his way to deliver that treasure to Callista, where... Sorry, dudes. Oh, I see what I did. My bad. Yeah, we'll go with that. Now, Lincoln is on his way to deliver that treasure to Callista to make sure she continues to protect his son, Sam, who is trapped in the violent nightmare purgatory known as the Shelf. Lincoln turned right, guiding his flat black Volt Lacama Biposto into the alley. The electric motorcycle's tires rolled silently along, their crunch across the grimy pavement making more noise than the engine did. He had stashed his armor, between cloak, and weapons in the bike's panniers. He didn't like wearing the full rig into the club. It drew too much attention, even though going in fully armed and armored was probably the smarter thing to do. He wore the non-combat look Ariella had picked out for him. That didn't mean he was unarmed. Ruger LCRX 38 Special in his back holster. Damascus seal karambit knife in a front sheath hidden inside his jeans. Warded shield wand in his right sock. 2 vials of holy water in his left. He'd only carried 1 vial for many years, but there had been a spike in undead crime as of late. Muffy and her ilk weren't doing their job for shit, apparently. At the alley's end, 2 offensive lineman-sized bros dressed in suits and sunglasses stood in front of a rusted metal door with a rusted metal grate covering a smaller, eye-level view panel. Lincoln didn't recognize either of the men. Seemed to be a lot of employee turnover at this place lately. He wondered if that was connected to the undead crime wave. Door guards got eaten from time to time. Lincoln stopped 5 feet from the front door, right in the middle of the alley. If anyone came to the club, or left it, they'd have to walk around his bike. Fuck 'em. As he slid off the seat, one of the door guards, the smaller one, but still a good 50 pounds bigger than Lincoln, held up a hand. "Hey, asshole, you can't park there." "Blow me," Lincoln said. He leaned close to the handlebars. "Tactus paralysis." He stood straight. "I take it you numbnuts don't know who I am?" Gary really needed to work on his new employee orientation. "Yeah, I know who you are," the smaller one said. "You're the guy who's going to move that pussy e-bike unless you want me to knock it over and piss on it." Lincoln thought of warning the guy, but he was in kind of a bad mood. Besides, the guy's sunglasses looked stupid. "Go ahead, big boy," Lincoln said. The offensive tackle sneered, walked to the bike, and grabbed the handlebars. Cobalt blue lightning bolts shot up his arms and into his head. For just an instant, Lincoln thought he saw the man's brain lighting up inside his skull like some electrified cartoon character. The man dropped onto the dirty pavement, a wet spot spreading across his crotch. "Aw, that's a shame," Lincoln said. "Big boy go wee-wee in his pants." Lincoln stepped to the door. The other guard, the bigger one, stepped in front of him. "You don't have a pass," the guard said, sliding a hand inside his coat. "Can't let you in." Lincoln looked at the hand, still inside the coat, which gripped the handle of a pistol gleaming with glowing runes. Gleaming with glowing runes. Looked like some solid meshwork on that weapon. "Buddy," Lincoln said, "if you draw that gun, I will knee you in the balls so hard, every time you take a sip of water, you'll be gargling your own scrot." The man looked down at Lincoln, which was easy to do considering the man's height. 6'7", maybe 6'8". Scrot? What's a scrot? Lincoln clenched his teeth. He had worked hard on that line. It was funny and cool. How could this guy not know what a scrot was? "You're about to find out," Lincoln said. He took one step back, made a show of getting ready to kick, because it wasn't any fun unless the guy actually drew. The peephole door opened with a screech of rust. The eyes of a goat looked through. "Leo, what are you doing? Take your hand off that weapon!" The 300-pounder, named Leo apparently, shoved his pistol back into its holster so fast he missed the first time, but got it on the second try. Mr. Sater, this guy doesn't have a pass. He electrocuted Louis. The goat eyes shifted to Lincoln, glared accusingly. Lincoln, did you electrocute my door guard? Oh, that cultured voice, like something out of a movie about some old-time industrialist. I didn't electrocute anyone, Gary. Lincoln gestured to the pissed pants man lying on the pavement next to the bike. He did that to himself. Now let me the fuck in before I get mad. The view panel slammed shut. Lincoln heard the expected sizzling sound of a block entry spell being removed. The door swung open to reveal Gary Sater. Upper body tucked up as usual, although this one was white instead of his normal black. It matched the fur of his bare goat legs. Leo, Gary said, this is Lincoln Franks, associate of Mistress Callista. His face is on the flashcards I gave you. Did you not review the flashcards? Leo looked down. Yeah, Mr. Sater, I did, but, there's a lot of faces. We will discuss this later, Gary said. This way, Lincoln. Lincoln stepped inside, heard the annoying as hell throb of dance music. Gary shut the door. He waved his fur-covered hands. Blue energy sparkled across the doorframe. I'm sorry about that, Lincoln, he said. Good help is so hard to find these days. I really must update my new employee orientation PowerPoint. Lincoln shrugged. What are you going to do? Gary's yellow eyes, with those disturbing rectangular pupils, looked Lincoln up and down. My, Lincoln. This is a step up from jeans and a flannel. Did you actually comb your hair? Lincoln had thought compliments about the outfit might be nice, but now that he heard acceptance from a ring-kissing twat nozzle like Gary, he felt kind of foolish. Whatever, Lincoln said. I got places to be, bro. Yes, Gary was a twat nozzle, but when the shit got real, the satyr stood and fought. That was the main currency in Lincoln's economy of respect. Bravery earned credit. Cowardice rang up debts that could not be repaid. Well, I think you look marvelous, Gary said. Very John Wick. It suits you. Although, if you'd called ahead, I would have told you to wear white. White? What the hell did that mean? Lincoln followed the satyr down the dark hallway. Up ahead, colorful lights flashed in time to the god-awful electronica music. They stepped into the club proper. Blazing hells, Lincoln said. What in the like a virgin purgatory is this bullshit? Every time he had come to Callista's before, black clothing, leather, lace, and vinyl, mostly, had been the rule of the day. Now, most of the sweating, booty-humping revelers wore white. This looks like a goddamn porn star parody wedding, Lincoln said. Gary nodded. Just wait until you see the mistress. This way. The undulating crowd parted for Gary. Lincoln followed in his wake. Yeah, maybe Lincoln did look a bit ridiculous in his outfit. But at least it was better than the vanilla ice cream slut brigade grinding away everywhere he looked. The last of the crowd stepped aside to reveal the queen of this clown show, Callista, sitting upon her golden throne atop a pulsating disco dais, surrounded by scantily clad club kids lying lasciviously atop each other, like the backdrop of a Lady Gaga video. The few scraps of clothing the kids did wear were white. Lincoln had never seen Callista wear white before. Like her barely legal club kids, there wasn't much of it. White, thigh-high PVC boots. White lace dress trimmed with gold trinkets. Slits up the side so high, it might have better been classified as a white lace loincloth. White PVC bikini top lined with gold rivets. A gold-handled longsword in a white scabbard leaned against the arm of her throne. And of course, that hair. Long, fire-red curls. And of course, that hair. Long, fire-red curls many a lover had likely gotten lost in and never found their way out. Red lips so full they bordered on, but did not quite cross into the uncanny valley. Emerald green eyes that flickered with her internal fire. Why, oh why, did the hottest woman in existence have to be such an utterly evil piece of shit? "Hello, Lincoln," Callista said. "Come closer. It's time for you to pay tribute to your goddess." "My goddess?" Lincoln shook his head. "Give me a break, lady." Callista smiled. "Oh, you think I'm a lady now." She ran her fingertips, white coffin nails with wavy gold and red lines down their length, along her overly exposed thigh. "I wonder what your little friend Walt would think of me." That was one meeting Lincoln intended to avoid for as long as possible. The last thing the Old Stone Church crew needed was for Billy to endure this demon's seductive onslaught. Lincoln's eyes flicked above Callista to the hulking, black-furred, black-horned, 7-foot-tall minotaur standing behind her throne, his hands resting atop a double-bladed Labrys axe. "Sup, Bobby?" Lincoln said. "You been hitting the weights lately? I swear your skin's going to rip open if your pecs get any bigger." A pleasantry, sure, but not too far from the truth. Bobby grinned wide. One might think a grinning 450-pound monster with a 2-pound brass ring through his septum might be disturbing. And it probably would have been if it were not so genuine. "What's up, Link? New max. Put up a ton 25 times just yesterday." For most people, or monsters, putting up a ton meant lifting a lot of weight. For Bobby, it was literal. 25 bench press reps of 2,000 pounds each. Fucking impressive. "You've trimmed down," Bobby said. "Hard to tell in that silly getup, though. Brother, that look just ain't you." Yes, Lincoln had trimmed down to the tune of 25. Yes, Lincoln had trimmed down to the tune of 20 pounds. It was nice that someone noticed. It was shocking how weight came off when A, you actually worked out on the regular, and B, you weren't binge drinking every night and gobbling pizza like a blue whale gobbles krill. Link still had another 15 to go, was still getting back into proper fighting shape. "Azazel's anguish, this bromance," Callista said. "Why don't you meatheads just whip out your cocks and give each other the double Dutch rudder already?" Bobby's left hand dropped from the Labrys. Several of the club kids perked up, craned their heads to look behind the throne. Callista raised one finger high, a warning flame streaming up from it. "It's a metaphor, Robert," she said. "If you drop trow, Half of my customers will run screaming for the exits, and the other half will never leave. Bobby put his hand back on the axe. The club kids pouted. Lincoln wondered how many of them knew their equally attractive and equally young predecessors had died horribly in a nasty melee on this very podium, their blood spilling across this very flaming video screen floor. Robert is right, though, Lincoln, Callista said. You do look good. I must say, I like your new style. Wonderful lines on the jacket. Love the tie. And those shoes. Tom Ford and John Lobb? Lincoln's nose wrinkled. Who the fuck are those assholes? Callista sighed and glanced up to the dark ceiling. You can drape a street urchin in velvet, but he'll still know the alleys better than the avenues, she said. I assume that slut lawyer of yours dressed you up? Honestly, Lincoln, you should have stuck with Cantrell and Cantrell. Callista was calling Ariella a slut? Had this demon looked in a mirror lately? Well, that was a stupid question. People like Callista never stopped looking in a mirror. Let's just get down to business, Lincoln said. He reached into his coat. Bobby's wide nostrils flared once, but not so much. Any bodyguard worth his salt would react to that movement. But Bobby and Lincoln had fought side by side. That small bond, forged in battle, baptized in blood, it mattered. It wasn't that Lincoln wouldn't kill Callista if he had a chance. It was that he probably wouldn't do it while Bobby was present. Or, without asking Bobby's permission first. Lincoln pulled out Pandora's pendant. As you requested, Callista. He dangled it from one extended finger. Callista snapped her fingers. A thin man stood. Mercutio. He'd been there all along, lounging with the rest of the jailbait battalion. Lincoln hadn't noticed because the man had shaved his perfectly coiffed blonde locks. And god damn it, Mercutio looked even better bald. Some assholes have all the luck. Hello, Lincoln. Mercutio spoke like a boxer bobbed and weaved, in short bursts and languid pauses. You're looking positively saucy tonight. First, that Ford and Lobb shit, and now Lincoln was supposed to know what saucy meant. He hated this place. Mercutio took the pendant. He held it up to the light of the mirror ball, peered at it, and nodded. It's legit, mistress. He gave Lincoln a flourishing bow. Good day, sir. The guy was such a showboat. Shitty fighter. Although, like Gary, Mercutio didn't run and hide when things got heavy. That was what really mattered. Lincoln could ignore the rest. That's 4 payments worth, Lincoln said. I want that written down. Callista glanced to Mercutio. Mercutio held up the pendant again, squinted at it. 3 is the best I can do. He dropped the pendant and chain into his palm. Sorry, Link. Business is business. Lincoln took a step toward him. That's 4 payments, Blue Steel. You better 3 payments, Callista said. Accept it before I make it 2. Lincoln stood still, clenching his fists. He had no power here. None. All right, he said. 3 payments. How many left? He should have had that number memorized. But the harsh fact was, he simply didn't want to think about it every goddamn day. Callista again glanced to Mercutio. 243, the male model said. With Ariella's guidance, Lincoln was averaging around 2 payments a week, gathering magical items and charm treasure from all across the underskin. From Cordis, even the Patchwork's individual religious and mythological territories. Where the bounties were, that's where Lincoln went. That's where Lincoln fought. And that's where Lincoln killed. 2 per week. That meant 2 more years that Sam would be on the shelf. At least. Lincoln glared at Callista, barely able to control his frustration, his rage. He could kill Bobby. He could kill Gary. He could kill Mercutio and all the club kids. He could drive his karambit into that smooth... He could drive his karambit into Callista's smooth, milky thigh and make her decide between bleeding out or releasing Lincoln's only child from purgatory. I saved your ass from Oakbeard and the Flechette sisters and all their little fuckstick goons, Lincoln said. You'd be tits up right now with that goblin teabagging your skull and pissing on your bones. Lincoln took a step closer to the throne. This time, Bobby lifted the axe, held it in both hands, more as a friendly, "Don't make me do this" warning than as a threat, but it was a threat nonetheless. Mercutio tensed. The club kids reached for weapons hidden inside the dais because they sure as hell didn't have enough clothes for a concealed carry. And from behind Lincoln, Lincoln heard a shotgun rack. Gary Sater, he knew, although where Gary stashed that shotgun, Lincoln didn't know and didn't want to know. Lincoln did not take a second step. Let my son go, he said. Declare Pandora's pendant worth 243 payments. Let's be done with this bullshit. Please, he didn't add. And he should have, but he couldn't. I beg you, he didn't add. He wanted to, but he could not. Callista leaned back, crossed one perfect white-booted leg over the other. I'll tell you what, she said. This once, and only this once, I will give you what you ask for. Lincoln couldn't breathe. Was this demon going to do it? Would she set Sam free? I will make the pendant worth 4 payments, Callista said. You see, Lincoln, from time to time I can accommodate the needs of my servants. For a moment, for several moments, Lincoln could not form a thought. He had allowed himself to think, for only an instant, that he could save his son. Like an idiot, he had allowed himself to hope. More the fool was he. Callista smiled. Say thank you, Lincoln, before I change my mind. Her red hair, her red nails, her red outfit, the red minotaur, everything looked red. Lincoln Franks saw the world through a shimmering haze of tears and blood. But he couldn't fuck up. He couldn't do what his heart told him to do, because if he did, and she changed her mind, That meant one more week his son might be stuck in that hellhole. "Thank you," Lincoln said. "I'm grateful for your accommodation." She eased back in her throne. Her nails slowly clicked on the golden armrests. "You're welcome," Callista said. "Gratitude is vastly underrated in this world. Now that our business is complete, Lincoln, can Goriginald fetch you a drink? He makes a mean French 75. With Cloquet, a symphony on your tongue." Lincoln had fought monsters his entire life. He had bled. He had been trained to hate. In all of those days, he had never hated anything the way he hated Callista. "Rain check," Callista. "Rain check," Lincoln said. "But thank you for the kind offer." He turned and walked out. Maybe the dancers got out of his way. Maybe he pushed him aside. He wasn't sure. He had signed a contract. That contract stated his son would be protected until Lincoln completed said contract. And then Sam would be released. For years, fulfillment of that contract meant performing certain tasks for Callista. Murdering her criminal enemies, or murdering criminal associates who disappointed her, or murdering fucking anyone she wanted dead, for any reason. She had sent him to kill Ariella. Why did Callista want Ariella dead? Lincoln still didn't know. That attempted hit, though, had changed Lincoln's life. Ariella found details in the contract. The fine print Lincoln had ignored allowed him to make regular payments of magical treasure, valued at market rates, in lieu of being Callista's enforcer. As long as Lincoln kept up the payment schedule, Callista had to uphold her end of the bargain. Commonality law specified that a contract holder could not be coerced into completing the contract early for any reason if said holder did not wish to complete it. Lincoln could not torture Callista and force her to sign off. And honestly, he wasn't sure he could take her one-on-one anyway. The redhead wasn't just a smoke show. She possessed real power. Killing power. Lincoln's sister Sophia and brother Lucas couldn't come in and lay a whooping on Callista either. No coercion meant no coercion by any means. Even Auntie Juanita, Sam's godmother, and the Bastion's commander couldn't send an army of Rixators, Adjurators, and monks to turn Callista into a grease spot. If anyone even remotely connected to Lincoln's desire to free his son killed Callista, Sam would be forever trapped. There was no getting around it. There was no faking it. The commonality always knew when one side of the deal tried to forcibly alter a situation. Callista was the only one who could end the contract early. And as much as Lincoln hated to admit it, that fire-spewing elemental cunt had done him a solid by granting him 4 payments for Pandora's pendant. A solid, when she could have written off the entire debt any goddamn time she wanted to. And through all of it, for every last excruciating helpless bit of it, there wasn't a thing Lincoln could do to change it. Teddy Two Fingers might have known a way to get Sam off the shelf, but Delilah Droman had turned Teddy into a sipping soup through a straw vegetable. Lincoln had no recourse, physical, mental, or legal. Callista held all the cards. Lincoln found himself on his motorcycle. Maybe he had wound up kneeling Leo in the balls, or maybe Leo suddenly decided to grunt out a guttural rendition of the Sesame Street theme song. Lincoln wasn't sure, and he didn't really care. Ariella. She couldn't find a way to set Sam free. Maybe this was Ariella's fault, after all. The only thing Lincoln knew for certain was that someone, somewhere, sometime, had to pay. He drove his bike out of the alley and headed for Ariella's brownstone. There we go, my hearties. That was episode 80 of Slay. And since we'll save this for video at some point, come back soon and watch episode 81. And we are done. No, Carrie, that was not a Zack and Miri Make a Porno reference. However, absolutely one of my fucking favorite movies. Love that movie. Was literally just watching clips of that a couple days ago. You know what, Carrie? I could be wrong. Please type in what you thought the reference to Zack and Miri Make a Porno was. I may have just seen the wrong time because I was looking at clips of that when I wrote this 2 days ago. So I may have forgotten what the reference is, but please refresh my memory. That would be great. Baby girl, come on up and hang out with your man. Thank you, Cobalt. Cobalt, yes. Callista pisses me off sometimes. And I'm the one who writes her. She's just not a nice person. It's true. Sup, Jude? I got the every time I do an episode for you people, I get the gas. Maybe because I'm so excited. I don't really know. Holy cats, look at all the YouTubers in tonight. We have a plethora. This might be the 2 points. Number one, something's wrong with the Facebook connection. I had to refresh it, and I tried to disconnect all the Facebook tracking from my personal computer because fuck those guys, and I may have done something wrong with the connection that's needed for Restream, which I use for this, to feed over to Facebook. So hopefully we'll get that fixed. But man, just a bumper crop on YouTube. Mwah. You're all beautiful. Fucking fantastic. Okay, sweets.
You need to see if you can get into Sigler in Place and see the file that I created called Use This One NFL to GFL.
Great. I will do that in one moment. Like I said, a little bit behind. So let's go to main. Oops. Honey, why don't you sit here for a second?
Okay.
Sit right here.
My computer up?
Nope. I just need you to sit right here for a second and introduce yourself and say hi to everybody. We've got a lovely crowd tonight.
Hello, pals. We've had a hell of a day at Caesars. Hell of a day at sea. Oh, it's been a big day. I don't know if Scott told you because I was doing something else when Sigler in Place started. Hello, Chris. Hello, Cobalt. Nice to see you guys. We had a whole bunch of things going on today. Yesterday, we had wildfires that were very close to us, and friends of ours had to evacuate. They came to our house. Everything's fine. We also, today, Reese had to go, well, both dogs had to go to the vet, and Reese stayed to get her teeth cleaned and ended up getting 3 extractions. She is so incredibly stoned. She's downstairs. She ate 1 tablespoon of food all day, which is interesting. She's much hungrier normally than that.
Okay, switch your chair, baby girl.
Okay.
Gently. Like I said, you guys, we were spending time preparing extremely important things like the GFL players and their NFL current analog. So give us one more second and switch over to A-cam or the money cam, as I call it, because who doesn't like to look at A? I mean, I like to look at A. It looks great. Oh, sorry, babe. Let me get this up. There you go. Try talking. Adjust your mic where you want it.
I'm doing that right now.
Red Jacket Man, hello. How are you? Great to see all you motherfuckers. All you motherfuckers look good, in my opinion. All right.
There we go.
Chris, basically, I did kick out.
Here we go.
Chris
now.
Grawl in the chat room says, did Scott kick out the plug? Facebook froze for a second. I went through an online list of how to stop all of the Facebook tracking and the very invasive practices that they have. And I just, at some point, got tired of literally disconnecting over 300 sites and vendors and advertisers that were tracking me via Facebook. And I clearly did something with Restream, which is our the site we use. We take this via a program called OBS. The video you're watching now then goes to Restream, and Restream kindly sends that out to YouTube and Twitch and Facebook and LinkedIn and a couple other places as well. But something went amiss. So there we go. Beth Copenhaver's in the house. Hello, how you doing?
Hey, guys.
Very good to see you.
So, Scott, you need to see if you can see on the Sigler in place Mac Mini.
I'll take care of that right now. Why don't you prepare the people for what's about? Why don't you give do the housekeeping?
Okay, I'll do the housekeeping while he's doing whatever he's doing. Just so that you know, I apparently don't have access to add things to the art bin.
God damn it.
I know. So
where did you put it?
Sigler in place in something called Use This One, NFL to GFL.
This is gonna be a little bit confusing, guys. So Sigler in place. Bear with us. This is a good episode.
See
We
that
swear
one?
to God.
Can you get that? Shaboop.
Did you do all of them?
I did.
You crazy. Oh, they're web Ps, babe.
What?
They're web Ps. They're not
all of them.
JPEGs.
Not all of them. Maybe just the last few.
And these are all done by number?
Yeah.
Okay.
I had to do something.
You got to come up with
So
something.
tonight we were talking.
Great. I'll work on this right now.
You guys know. I'm going to do housekeeping, and then we're going to talk about it. Let me find the housekeeping.
I have to go into studio mode over here.
Okay, so
Just go
while
ahead and
he's
start
doing
working on it,
that,
babe.
I'm going to talk about the housekeeping, what's coming up from Empty Set and Scott. So I'm not sure what he talked about because I was doing something else as you guys were listening to the story and the talkie talk at the beginning. But I will say I think I'm just going to talk about it again. So Scott today got 70% through Crypt Book 2's second draft edit, and then it goes on into oblivion. He's got a few more days on that. Sunday, January 19th, Slay Book 3, Clean and Sober. That episode went live in the podcast feed. That was this past Sunday. And then today, Wednesday, January 22nd, our deep cuts from last week, which was the 2024 year in review and look forward to 2025. That's on the screen.
Yeah, I don't know how to.
Okay.
I don't know. I fucking clearly don't know how to fix that shit.
Okay. I'll just keep talking, you guys.
Yep. God damn it.
And
This sucks.
that went live in
okay.
the podcast feed. Also, obviously, today we had this cast on this coming Sunday, January 26th. Tonight's Slay episode up in the club goes live in the podcast feed. And then on Wednesday, January 29th, Slay Season 3 continues. And we are going to imagine conversations that Scott might have with some of his characters. Because we're talking about the GFL this week, we're going to probably limit it mostly to non-GFL books, but we haven't figured this out yet. So if you guys have any ideas, if you would like to know answers to questions that PJ Colding might ask Scott, or Clarence Otto might ask Scott, or something like that, if you have anything like that, please email those questions to info@emptyset. We can certainly get that done, and we'll get that done regardless. But you'll see us go through this together next week. And the idea here is either some of Scott's characters ask him specific questions, or if you guys have questions about how Scott might handle something like that, feel free to email us at info@emptyset. Beth Copenhaver, what about Dragon Con 2025? Last week we talked about that in the year in review. We said we are absolutely considering it. We haven't applied yet. We haven't applied for him as a guest yet, but that is currently on the docket. We have a handful of travel already scheduled in the summer for this year. So it kind of depends, but I think we're going to make that decision soon. So just keep tuning in. Obviously, you'll know. We'll make sure you guys know if we're coming.
All right. You ready, babe? You already
I
did.
believe.
Did you already do the housekeeping?
I did all the housekeeping.
Wow,
except
really?
for the newsletter, just,
Oh, shit.
all
Let's
that.
see through the basics. Here we go. Main
It's just this.
email info@emptyset.
Yeah.
There you go. And then text 2855-955-5095. For God's sakes, do it already. And then, of course, newsletter. ScottSigler.com/newsletter. And I don't think I updated the Junkie Party. I did not. We'll have to do that for the next one. Okay, hold on. Let me get this adjusted a little bit.
But just so you guys know, that is February 1st. That's coming up kind of quick. Not
it is.
This Saturday, but the following Saturday.
Hi, Kenny effing G. I love the name. Hey, Scott, I'm a relatively new listener. Been binging Slay, which I discovered in recommendation in your Infected trilogy. I binged season 1 and 2, Infected and Contagious. I am delighted. Everybody, welcome Kenny. Welcome Kenny to the
Nice
Junkie
work.
Fold. Kenny, welcome. And that is fantastic. All right, here we go. We're going to get into the football business. Now,
Do you need to reset the logic?
oh my God, you totally do. Fuck. You're a genius, McGillicuddy. A genius.
While he does that, I'm going to look at the Watch Duty app to see if there's any more
Are we on
evacuations
fire?
happening. Not yet, not us, but there's a new.
Are we on fire?
There is not, but there is fire. Forward progress stop. So if you don't live in a place where you experience wildfires, I'm assuming I don't really know what tornado warnings look like. But for wildfires, there's several items that you need. You need to know if a fire is out. You need to know if there are units at the scene. You need to know if forward progress is stopped, which means whichever way the wind is blowing, they have stopped the spread of the fire in that direction. And then, of course, containment. We've had a hell of a week at sea, you guys.
We've had a hell of a week at
Heck
sea,
of
you
a week
guys.
at sea, you guys.
Yep.
So we are good to go for the next at least half an hour. There's definitely no fires that could get us there, and our friends are safe as well.
Except the fire that's
your
in
heart?
my pants.
Oh, I thought heart, but
Got
apparently
fire in my
no.
pants, son. Flaming balls. Let's go. All right.
There's a powder for that, I'm sure.
Is there?
I don't know.
I was trying to make it sound like a sexy thing, but apparently that's a whole Gold Bond medicated thing. So I guess my flaming balls are not as sexy as I thought they might be.
I don't really think either one of us. Any.
You don't think flaming genitalia is a good thing regardless?
I mean, me personally, I don't. Maybe,
Okay.
But I'm not yucking your yum if that's your
I'm-
yum.
You know what? I have to go back and edit the Crypt Book 2 stuff I wrote today. 'Cause
Well, I don't think they were having.
I
the
thought it was
kind of-
hot, but
Mhm.
apparently that is not a great thing. Scott Aiken in the chat room says you should probably have that checked out.
Yeah, probably.
All right, now we're about to begin.
Are you going to
Honey,
start this?
I'm in a second.
All
yeah.
right.
Thank you so much for your help, baby. Really appreciate it.
Sure. Hopefully,
Scrambling.
hopefully I did okay. I was trying to. So one of the things is
We're gonna
I
see how
didn't-
this fucking goes, you
I
guys.
didn't know who he chose. I just had to kind of wing it from the titles of the photos. So we'll see.
Okay, here we go, guys. Of course, this is moving in the deep cuts phase. There is no story content in this. So if you're just hanging out to hear more of Slay or anything else, you won't hear that here. Feel free to tap out, but we would love to have you. And we expect the chat room to be jumping with players that we may have missed. Real quick, Andy Ryan. Hey, Scott, did you read the story about the Commanders quarterback who used a VR headset to run plays against opponents' defenses? Random question out. Not random, motherfucker. Not only did I see it, I shared it, I posted it, and anyone... hear me! Wait. Never mind. We'll go back to here. Anyone who sees a story like that, if you see something online, a story that you're like, holy crap, Scott told me about this a long time ago in the GFL series, and now it's coming true, share it far and wide. And share the fact that Scott Sigler's Galactic Football League and the rookie predicted all of this shit. Share it far and wide. That really, frankly, helps us out because I am a genius. Because I do see things. Who's the name of the? Gosh darn it! Who is the name of the Johnny Carson prognosticator?
Oh, Krell? No, not. It's something with a K.
You know what?
It'll come to me.
When you want to make pop references, you have to
R.I.P.
remember
Johnny
the person
Carson.
is. Here we go. Penicillin is a hell of a drug. Exactly. All right. Both of our pale asses are completely washed out, even
That's
though we have
okay.
the same
Let's just
camera,
go.
same setting every time. Ready? Okay, here we go.
I'm ready.
In
3.
3,
2.
2. Hey, FTO, who is your inspiration for Quentin Barnes of the Galactic Football League? I get asked this all the time, and people who just discovered the series automatically assume it's some current NFL quarterback, but the series has been around for a while, so it is none of the current crop.
But there's got to be a modern day analog to Quentin, right? And how about linebacker John Tweedy, wide receiver Denver, and of course Mumokilowe,
By Jove, I think you're right. Let's match the GFL stars to current players in the NFL. This will be a blast.
So, which modern day player is closest to Kraken star Quentin Barnes? Find out right after this quick break.
Excellent. Well done. Cheers.
Cheers.
I'm fucking wired, dude. I'm on edge. It's been a rough day.
It's been a rough couple of days.
Been a rough couple days,
for
bitches.
many of us, but a rough, hard
All right.
few weeks.
Let's get into it. You see, you guys get the behind the scenes stuff by being live. It's
Cormac,
great.
is that? Yeah.
Cormac, yeah.
Yeah. Karnak.
Karnak. Karnak.
Yeah, there it is.
Ooh.
Here we go.
Tight butt throw. Here we go. Welcome to Deep Cuts, the bonus episode of the Scott Sigler Slices Fiction Podcast, where a sci-fi author and an audiobook narrator discuss things and stuff in the world of fiction and pop culture. I am Scott Sigler, sci-fi horror author known far and wide as the future Dark Overlord.
And I am A.B. Sigler, publisher at Empty Set Entertainment and audiobook narrator. And on this episode of Deep Cuts, we're talking about NFL analogs for GFL players.
And
or
GFL,
vice versa.
if you are listening to this and don't know what the GFL is, that is the Galactic Football League series. There are currently 6 books available in print, audio, and ebook. Start with book 1, The Rookie. If you're an all sci-fi fan, you will love it. Or if you are a football fan, you will love it. Or if you're a sports fan, you will love it. If you are any Venn diagram of all those things, you will want to mail me your firstborn child. It's that good. Search for the Galactic Football League by Scott Sigler wherever you get your books.
And I will say that there are 6 primary books in the Galactic Football League at the moment. There are also novellas that if you Google Galactic Football League, you will see come up. If you go to scottsigler.com or search GFL reading order, you'll get the order to read all those things in. But I agree with him. You should start with the novels and then add as you love them.
All right, let's get into this. What are we doing, babe?
So tonight we are talking about NFL analogs for GFL players, and we can jump right into it, I think.
Yeah, let's jump right into it.
What we did before, everything hit the fan is we picked out a handful of GFL players. And to that, Scott put his mind to it. I picked only one, but Scott did the rest of these that you'll hear. And we'll let you know. Most of these are Scott's, and we'll let you know when we get to mine.
Yeah.
So do you want to start with the first one?
I do want to start with the first one. So we're going to go listening at home. We do this live every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern. We go live at Facebook.com/Scott Sigler, YouTube.com/Scott Sigler, or Twitch.tv/Scott Sigler, where you can see our faces and any visuals we might put up. So we're going to put up those visuals right now. And let's get into it. Let me see if I can get this right. Give us a second. Give us a second, guys at home, and edit this out, Steve. That's fine. I need to go to, let's do this over here.
Sounds good.
Let's go to, great. All right, we're going to start out with
our number one is Mumokilowe, who is a defensive tackle for the Ionath Krakens.
Yes.
And you have chosen his NFL.
I love this guy. And these are only current active NFL players.
Yeah.
Most of the inspirations for the GFL players, of course, go back to the late 80s, 90s, sometimes the aughts. And all of those guys are done playing. So for the purposes of this, because we're coming up on the next Super Bowl Licks, which is going to be probably my favorite Super Bowl. We're coming up on Super Bowl Licks, and we want to showcase guys who played this year and are active in the league. Our first one for defensive lineman, interior defensive lineman, not a defensive end. So that means it is a nose guard or it is a defensive tackle, is representing Mumokilowe, the dominant interior DL for the Ionath Krakens. This gentleman's name is, where we go here? There it is. Dexter Lawrence, the third. Dexter Lawrence is 6'4".
Plays for the New York Giants.
342 pounds. Now, keep in mind, we're going to get some other players who are 6'4", 6'5" right now, who weigh 100 pounds less than this beast of a human being. Look at the size of this guy. He plays for the Giants. They did not have a good year. However, Dexter Lawrence II had 44 tackles, 23 solo tackles, 9 sacks, and a forced fumble in 12 games. He was hurt. He did not play all of the games. An absolute beast of a man. And up on the screen now,
I had to pick some other photos.
we have Mr. Dexter Lawrence celebrating a sack. He is number 97 in the all white of the Giants, and he's doing some kind of a booty shake presentation.
Maybe a booty shooty shake.
And it's a booty shooty shake. He's also extraordinarily happy because he just demolished a tiny little quarterback human being. So he is great.
So we have a couple of those photos. Did you run them both? There's
I did
two
run
for
both.
everybody except for my pick.
Great. I did run both, yes.
All right. So the second player that in the GFL that I wanted Scott to give me an analog for was Yalla the Biter, who's a linebacker.
No,
That's okay.
Yalla the Biter, great. I can do that.
It's right there.
Yes, Yalla the Biter. Those of you who have read the Galactic Football League series or listened to it know that Yalla the Biter is considered by some to be a dirty player. He intentionally tries to injure other players. He is responsible for creating a 32-stitch gash on Quentin Barnes' arm when Yalla the Biter literally bit him. Yalla the Biter has 3 killed on the fields under his stats. He has literally taken the life of 3 other players in the game. And that is, of course, perfectly legal in the Galactic Football League.
So your NFL analog knowing
that the NFL analog I pick has just got a bad reputation as a dirty player. We're not saying this person is dirty or is not dirty, but there is some thoughts going around the league that some people think he is actually vicious enough to try and hurt other players. And that person is... Why is this not working?
I don't know.
God damn it. Okay, let me try and fix this shit. Baby got a vamp. I'm trying to do the best I can.
Okay, so I'll go back to this. If you are in California or any place where there may be wildfires, I would recommend you download the free-to-use Watch Duty app. If you have people who you love in areas, I don't know this. You don't have to sign in. You don't have to log on. You don't have to register. You don't have to do anything. And it absolutely shows where you are in the world. So I'm not sure if that would work, if there's a way to kind of find an area where people you love are. But if you are actively in a wildfire area now or moving forward, definitely download the nonprofit.
And if you know
app.
people in California, it's not a bad thing to have either.
Yeah, I don't know that you'll be able to see, but let the friends in California know, even if you can't see them yourself, what this is, because it's super user friendly, and people can submit photos. People can submit a first report, even if they're not any kind of a first responder or a fire professional or anything like that. So do that if you need that. We have been very, very lucky where we live. The house that we live in, I have lived here since 2000 and have been under at least 3. This is the 4th year. This is the 4th fire season that fires have been kind of close to me, or kind of close to us at the PUV empty set
You son
here.
of a bitch.
And we rely very heavily on first responders. I have never been evacuated. I've been on one evacuation warning, and we are very lucky because we live directly west of Miramar Air Force Base, which is 5 miles long, and directly west of that and before us
We're going to jump back into this.
is a couple of giant highways. So we're pretty lucky, but we're always vigilant.
I apparently can't even do this manually, man.
Sorry about that, babe. I don't know what's happening.
All right, give me a second. You guys, hang out for a second. I'll try and figure this out. I don't understand what's happening, frankly.
So there are a few folks in the chat room talking about, Beth Copenhaver. I actually thought Scott would pick Ndamukong Suh. And I know that he did not, because he's not a current player. And most of the players we have are really recent. I think all of them are current, maybe except 1 or 2. So I agree with you. I was sure. Because Ndamukong Suh mostly played by the rules, but he also...
I have come up with a solution.
Okay.
I feel bad for Steve, the Iceberg Rakeberger, said this. Ready?
It's okay.
So for Yalla the Biter, we are talking about, I lost him now. We've got to go with a current player who has a bad rep for dirty play, and that's going to be Aziz Al-Shir of the Houston Texans. In December 2024, Al-Shir was suspended for 3 games for forcing 3 games following a forceful blow at the head of Jacksonville Jaguars quarterback Trevor Lawrence, an action widely regarded as a dirty play. During the 2023 season, Al-Shir was fined $13,934 for a blow to the head neck of a quarterback. He was also fined $10,927 for a face mask foul. And during the 2022 season, he was fined $11,139 for fighting. This young man is currently, here, let's just shrink it down a little bit. We can have our pretty faces right there. Here we go. We'll do the best we can. This young man is currently kind of has a bad rep. As a dirty player. And there have been many players in the NFL who have a bad rep. But, I mean, I got to comment on this for a second. This is a sport with young men who have worked their entire lives to reach this level and worked extraordinarily hard and have been rewarded throughout their sports career for having an aggressive attitude. Mm-hmm. There is a phrase.
And even that encouraged, maybe.
In football, absolutely, it is absolutely encouraged. The paraphrase for defensive player is get there as fast as you can and arrive with bad intentions. Your job as an NFL player is not to kindly bring a person down to the ground. Your job is to hit that motherfucker with everything you've got. Should that be the way the game is taught? Frankly, no, because there's an enormous amount of defensive play. You could just drag the guy down. You don't necessarily have to hit him so hard his grandchildren feel it.
Well,
but to get to that level, you get to that level because you are strong, talented, intelligent, and vicious.
And I started watching football in earnest in 2009 when Scott and I started to work together. And that leaves me at a big disadvantage compared to Scott when we are watching a live football game. For me, I understand some rules well and some rules not well, but he understands the legacy of some rules. He understands where it was before there was, say, like a defensive or a defenseless pass kicker or something.
Yep.
He understands why they started there. But for me, I'm like, nobody needs to get this hurt. Nobody needs to get this hurt. I have never been on a team. I've never been allowed to play team sports because I was born with bad kidneys. So that's another thing that I just don't understand, because I have never been told, like, you go out there and try and kill him, or you go out there and absolutely take him to the ground. Nothing like that. So for me, I'm like, can't you just be nice once they're already down? But I kind of understand why the rules come into play after again and again and again.
Even me as a tiny, mean human being with a lot of anger issues, when I was privileged enough to play high school football, my greatest memories from high school football, after spending most of my junior and senior year getting the living shit kicked out of me, was weighing 120 pounds. There were a couple of instances where I just laid the hammer on some players. And for all of the thousands of practice reps, the hundreds of sessions, the dozens of games, the entire time I was involved in that sport as a player, the things that stand out are the things that tickle my lizard brain. When I put another human being on the fucking ground and they could not get up because I had done that to them. And the same thing goes for when I was a wrestler. The things that will endure with me till the moment I die are when my aggressiveness and impact put a person down, they couldn't get up.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily Western culture. That might be masculinity in general. I don't know what it is, but that level of aggressiveness is encouraged, forged, and refined for someone to get to the level of Azir. So he may be called dirty player, but you know what? It's more complicated than that.
One of the things that I find interesting is we know as a society that positive reinforcement tends to do better in the long run, but negative reinforcement has immediate consequences. And the crazy thing for me is I'm pretty sure putting a player down so they can't get up again, especially in high school and college, especially in high school, is probably seen as positive. They'll get positive reinforcement for that, which then leads them to want to do more of that. And then doing more of that actually turns out to not necessarily always be a good thing. So this is a fascinating thing for me that I've not seen. Before we move on, we are going to take a very quick break. If you have a minute, please listen to any ads that pop up. There's only one or two, and it really helps the show. We'll be back right after this.
Okay, while we're taking a break, we had Chris Blankensop comment, you want to see people get the living shit kicked out of them, you should watch lacrosse. A and I have been to a professional lacrosse game in San Diego. It was a blast.
Unreal.
We can't wait to go again. The Seals, it was wonderful. Love that sport. Phenomenal sport. The level of force, was it force equals mass times, what's the equation?
Force equals, I don't know what you're asking.
The equals, no.
E equals MC squared?
Equals MC squared. Force equals mass times velocity.
Okay.
I believe it is. And the gentlemen in the NFL, the smaller players in the NFL would be relatively large in professional lacrosse or college lacrosse.
Mm-hmm.
These are really big human beings. And they're incredibly strong and they are incredibly fast. You combine those things, a defensive player hitting an offensive player in the NFL, which has a lot of let's stop play, restart play, and let people reset and come back. It's not the same level of impact as you get in rugby or in lacrosse. We can have that discussion at another time. The most powerful hits that are delivered in the world of professional sports, without doubt, is in the NFL. It's science. All right, ready?
Sure. We're coming back from a break.
Okay.
You gotta switch up your...
I got to switch up my business.
And here we go.
Wait. Yep.
I-
No, I screwed it up. Welcome back to Deep Cuts.
This episode, we're talking about NFL analogs to GFL players. You ready for the next player?
I am ready for the next player. And
Oh.
then in the chat room, Bruce Bach mentions a comment we were talking about earlier. Force equals mass times acceleration. And the defensive gentleman we just talked about has a lot of that going on. What is the next position, doll?
The next player that I want to talk about in the GFL is Don Pine.
Don
Quarterback.
Pine. Let's see. This is a gentleman who's at the tail end of his career. He has won titles. At one time, he was considered absolutely the best quarterback in the game. He's moody. He's introspective. And he's willing to take the backup role for a young hotshot when that is what the team needs. There's one guy playing the game today who fits that bill. And that gentleman is... Find my mouse. That gentleman is Russell Wilson, quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Russell Wilson has won a Super Bowl with Seattle. Came damn close to winning a second. He is backed up. This season, he backed up young quarterback prodigy Justin Fields, formerly of the Bears. And when Fields couldn't cut the gig, according to the coaches in the Pittsburgh Steelers staff, they brought Wilson in, and he led them to the playoffs. They didn't win the playoffs, but he did lead them to the playoffs. So I think he's very comparable to Don Pine.
I do too. I think this one's really interesting because he had all the potential. And then when I am learning from watching more and more football that sometimes what you can do in college doesn't transpose itself to the NFL. And they are quite different players. I think he's a really good analog because he stayed the course. There are several who were supposed to be everything. Johnny Football,
Manziel,
Marcus Mariota, that were supposed to be the big thing and then just couldn't make the shift, but sort of fit Don Pine in his later years, but not the winning years. So I love Russell Wilson as a choice for that. Yeah,
All right.
I think so. We have a handful of folks saying... Michael Moore, I think Tom Brady is far too winning to be this particular.
And Tom Brady also never played a back role, period. Did not happen. And he's not current anymore. So we're going to shrink down Mr. Russell. We'll bring this down here. Maybe we can see.
Sure.
We still want to see your pretty face.
Well, and your pretty face.
Well, thank you very much. But Russell Wilson, listen, a lot of people are bagging on Russell Wilson this year. 2024, he is still an A-list quarterback. He has won rings. When he was at the peak of his career, there was no one even close to him. So let's move on.
Let's move on. Now we're moving off of QB. Number 4, my pick for you to tell me who is the analog in the GFL today is none other than John Tweedy.
John Tweedy.
Linebacker for the Ironmath Kraken.
Listen, Q, nobody compares to me. There's no one in this world who that I could possibly be is comparable to me. I'm going to rip off their heads and then deliver some popcorn down in their intestinal tract. My favorite character in the GFL series, of course, is
one of my favorite characters of yours, full stop.
Middle linebacker John Tweedy, who is excitable, overly so, and is one of the most intense players in the league and possibly has a screw or two loose. Possibly has a screw or two loose. Some say John ain't quite right in the noggin, but he stops the run. He punishes ball carriers and blockers alike. And he gets to the quarterback. If he gets to the quarterback, watch the fuck out. The best parallel for him right now, I think, in the NFL is Packers linebacker Quay Walker. And this pick comes from my nephew, Tyler Sigler, who played for the Arizona Cardinals and is an excellent analyst for the NFL. And Quay Walker is, I hope you got the picture of him just staring. There it is.
Is that it? Yeah.
There it
I
is.
tried to find him if I
So
could.
those of you who are watching live, not listening to the podcast, I'm going to blow this picture up. Oh, shoot. This is very important. Very important. All I want you to do is like, come on, man. Look at the stare on this young lad's face. Look at that distant, like, I don't care who the fuck's lining up. I'm going to kill that motherfucker. This is a frightening, powerful, strong, fast, super wicked, smart human being. And he's not to be trifled with. Quay Walker is not to be trifled with. So this is the current analog to everyone's most beloved linebacker in all of the universe. The galaxy of the universe, like John Tweedy.
And it looks like we diverged in a wood here for a moment. So you're going to ignore the next two and you're going to go to...
No, you got to switch to. You got to switch. I can't work around. Switch to Brian Nosek, please.
Oh, okay.
I can't come around. I'm sorry.
That's okay. There's just nothing on this list for Ryan Nosek.
Oh, we're gonna go Ryan Nosek. Okay, so let's see. So now the next position is defensive end. Ryan Nosek of the Ice Storm in the Galactic Football League, a completely dominant heavy G, and the heavy G are weighing anywhere from 550 to 600 pounds. They're giant human beings. They're actually, they're giant heavy G. The heavy G do not want you to think they're big humans. They are their own species. And they get horribly offended when you call them big humans. They are often described as a really large gorilla with the extended long arms and the stubby legs without the fur and a human face. But that is just prejudicial and speciesist and don't like it.
Okay, but to be serious for a moment about the NFL, I believe that there are players in the NFL today and players in high school who will be in the NFL sometime in the future who are wildly outsized for their teammates, for their school, for their anybody who, like, for the third string defensive end. That there are high school players who outweigh the third string by 50 pounds.
In the
60
chat
pounds.
room, David Lamb mentions it's not Aiden Hutchinson, who is the defensive end or edge rusher, if you will, for the Detroit Lions. Wonderful guy, very colorful, very talented. He did break his leg in week 5 of the season. And even though he broke his leg, was the leader in NFL sacks through like week 11. So he missed 6 games and was still the NFL leader in sacks. If he stays healthy, he's absolutely a future Hall of Famer. But I got to go with a guy who finished the season and wreaked havoc.
Yeah.
Cry foul and let the havocs of the dog of war, whatever the phrase is. And that gentleman...
and let fly the dogs of war.
Let fly the dogs of war. Now I've lost the goddamn kid's name. What's his name?
Trey Hutchinson.
Trey Hutchinson from the Cincinnati Bengals. Trey, look it up.
Okay.
Look it up. We're going to get to this in a second. But this young man
Hendrickson, sorry.
Trey Hendrickson of the Cincinnati Bengals is a goddamn problem. He is an equation.
He's a problem.
He is an
I like
equation that has no solution. I have watched football my whole life. This is a really young guy, and he is just a nightmare from defensive end position. So those of you who know football, offensive line, defensive line, the guys who are on the outside of the defensive line, the left and the right side, those are called defensive ends and or edge rushers because they rush from the edge. Trey Hendrickson didn't make the playoffs this year, but fantastic season. He is a big problem.
All right, moving on. We have a handful to get through, so we'll have to be concise. If
Okay,
we
we'll
can.
try and be more concise.
The next one is Jew Tweedy, running back now for the INF Krakens.
Yes.
And your choice for Jew Tweedy. Oh, no. This is
This
your
is my
choice.
choice.
Yeah.
There's no question for me for this one. One of my favorite players in the NFL right now. Let's talk about Jew Tweedy for just a moment. I know we're running out of time. Got to get on this. Jew Tweedy, the INF Krakens. He's a punishing running back who keeps slamming the ball forward until defenders they weaken. They're afraid to tackle him. Well, there are several powerful running backs in the NFL right now, and we are in a golden age of running backs. The beast of the league right now is Baltimore Ravens' Derrick Henry. Plus, Derrick Henry came from the Tennessee Titans, where he was absolutely the franchise player for the Titans, and then he wound up playing for the Ravens. He moved to a new team just as Jew Tweedy moved from the OS1 orbiting death to the INF Krakens. This is a 1-for-1 equation. If you
Does
want
he happen to have a brother on the Titans?
oh gosh, I don't know.
No, he doesn't.
But if you want to know who is the template for Jew Tweedy when you read the GFL series, it is this young man, Derrick Henry, phenomenally talented, incredibly powerful, and seems like an all-around good guy too.
I agree. It was interesting. Some of your choices, I didn't have a lot of time to do that, but some of your choices were totally, I get that, because you and I talk about football on the weekends, and then some were a surprise. And this was a little bit of a surprise for this character analog.
Who would you have picked?
It's interesting. I guess I didn't. Jew seemed to me, or in my mind, seemed a little bit more problematic, because in the beginning he's problematic. And that's not true.
You're right. That's a great point.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry is not at all problematic. He's not a womanizer. He's not causing problems off the field. I wish I had consulted with you sooner. I do. All right, let's go on to the next.
This one is, he asked me to choose. So the next GFL player that we're going to talk about is Denver. And I chose Amon-Ra St. Brown of the Detroit Lions.
Detroit Lions.
Partially
Love this
because he has so much joy as a player. I mean, obviously they're the same. They're the same position, and he has so much joy as a player. He works as hard as he can to make the game fun for him, but also is tenacious and absolutely unstoppable if he can at all help it. And I feel like Denver does the same thing. Denver, of course, I don't think Amon-Ra St. Brown worships Goff at all, Jared Goff, in any way, shape, or form.
I mean,
which, of course, Denver does.
To some extent. So the Detroit Lions just lost their playoff game with the number 1 seed in the NFC. We're destined for a Super Bowl, and Goff threw 4 interceptions, 5 turnovers total in the game against the Washington Commanders, who played a flawless game of football. So there are many fans who are calling for Jared Goff's head. I disagree, but what's more important is the Detroit Lions, who play the game, are absolutely 100% behind Jared Goff. So I think that matches.
I wish Jared Goff would have thrown to other fucking people. Why did he keep throwing to people who were not going to catch the ball?
Couldn't tell you, babe.
I can't tell you either.
And tell them about this picture we're looking at right now, sweets.
So, of course, Amon-Ra St. Brown dyed his hair Honolulu blue.
Yes.
Right before or during the season this year, and it was super well received. There's also, if you Google Amon-Ra St. Brown blue hair, you will necessarily find a story of a lifelong Detroit Lions fan, a Caucasian gentleman who, once he saw that, he was, I think he was on hospice care. he was definitely in
Oh,
the
I
hospital.
did see that. Yeah.
And he was like, the one thing I need to do is I need to dye my hair Honolulu blue to help on, or, to support the Lions. And Amon-Ra did it, so I want to do it. And they got that done. And I do believe that that man has passed since then.
Yes,
But
he
it
has.
was a beautiful moment because you think, like a lifelong Detroit Lions fan, we have one in the house right now,
Mhm.
and several in the chat room right now. That kind of thing is, for somebody who didn't always follow football, this way to feel part of the team when you're in hospice care, it really moved me quite a lot.
And isn't it lovely? This gentleman,
it really moved me
this-
quite a lot.
lean a little bit. This gentleman is literally dying. His last days on this planet.
Yeah.
And one of the things he wants to bring him solace and to make him feel more complete in his life as a human being is, I adore this team. I've followed this team my whole life. This player brings me life-enriching joy.
Yeah.
So I want to dye my hair like he dyed his hair.
Yeah.
Even
And
though
they
he's
got it done.
50 years older. And Amon-Ra St. Brown said, you know what? I'm in. Let's go, bro. Let's get it done. And it was fantastic.
Cobalt in the chat room on Facebook says, catch the holy passes. And that's another thing I wanted to talk about Amon-Ra St. Brown is he is a spectacular make the play happen
Oh my God,
guy
he's
in ways
fantastic.
that, of course, I don't understand quite a lot of how they do what they do. But he makes it look easy. And there are other people who do that in the NFL for sure, but I think he does it with a lot of joy and not a lot of sort of fronting anger or vibrating violence or anything like that. Beth Copenhaver in the chat room on Facebook says, wasn't there a cake made of him? So he has an end zone celebration where he's up, he's doing a headstand. Well,
Yes.
yeah, but he's not actually doing a headstand. He's just on his head.
Yeah. He's doing a headstand. Go ahead. It's
And
fine.
there was a baker in Detroit who made a life-size replica of that end zone celebration with cake. And there are photos of Amon-Ra, the human, going to see Amon-Ra, the cake, and being very impressed by it. It's very fun.
That reminds me, I've been fortunate enough a couple times in my career to have Junkies contract or commission cakes made of my works.
Oh my goodness.
The ancestor cake. What were some other ones, babe? What's one I'm trying to think of? Oh,
There's
the
ancestor
the
cake.
Rocktopie cake. So you're listening at home.
There's
You've
also
not
a
read Triangle. If you've not listened to my novel Earth Core and the sequel
There
Mount
were
Fitzroy,
snakes.
there is a character in the book called a Rocktopie. And my lovely fans, one of them is in the chat room right now, commissioned a cake made of the creature described in my book. And there was another one with the snipes from the Great Snipe Hunt.
There was an alien's phalanx
An
cake.
alien's phalanx cake. There was a triangle from the Infected trilogy. And if you don't know my books, all I'm going to say is there was a triangle from the Infected trilogy. That's all you need to know. And it was magnificent. So I think part of me can relate
Yeah, for sure.
to Mr. Amon-Ra St. Brown. When someone goes through the trouble of making an edible giant confection that is related to you, it's wonderful.
All right, we're kind of move
go.
into the speed round a
Speed
little bit
round.
because we don't want to keep you guys here too late. We
Let's
know
go.
we have things to do. So this is going to be a departure. So next one on our list is Budashwak. He's a center.
The center of the Ionath Kraken, the all-pro center of the Ionath Krakens, Budo Schweck, on his 34th year in the Galactic Football League, because the key species can play for a long, long time.
Who'd you pick?
Well, I had to make a deviation from current players to someone who's almost a current player, because God bless this glorious American,
Yeah.
Jason Kelsey of the Eagles. There are few individuals in the world of sport who capture the joy of sport and also being exceptional at their craft, being hardworking, and being a physically and mentally relatively unprecedented talent, Hall of Fame talent right out of the gate. Jason Kelsey of the Philadelphia Eagles. He is my pick for that.
I love that he also played his entire career with the Eagles.
That's very rare
Super
and
fun.
super fortunate and good for him. It's super rare for any NFL player to get to play for one team for the whole career. And now he's moved on to the world of commentary and the world of advertising. and he's he's a pickle. He's just a pickle.
Yeah, he's a sweet pickle. He's a
sweet pickle.
And I do love that he just started commentating on Monday Night Football, and he shows up in themed outfits, which I also love. He's a great girl dad. I love that too.
Now,
let me just head back to a couple of comments in the chat room still about the cake. Yes, it was specifically Stephanie Harvey who spearheaded the creation and the artistic direction of every single cake that we ever had at Siglerfest, and they were absolutely amazing. Cobalt, if you Google Siglerfest cakes, I'm going to assume that many of them come up. But if you can't find them, email me and I'll make a page at scottsigler.com that has all of them on that. And yes, Marble Gargler 69, we absolutely cheated with Jake and Kelsey. But hold on, because we have one other that's a surprise too. So let us just get to
and
that.
real quick, while we're on the Kelsey tip, if you guys want to learn more about football, you don't know about football, you want to go to YouTube and search for Jason Kelsey highlights with commentary. He was I would dare say, a revolutionary player at his position. The center position does not get a lot of attention in football. This dude was absolutely a mutant. He was not just a gregarious, outgoing personality, absolute first ballot Hall of Famer at his position, exceptional. Who's next, babe?
Bumberpuff is our next replacement.
Bumberpuff. And I think I need your help for this, right?
Yeah, that's okay.
Let's go. Who do we got?
We have Quinyon Mitchell.
Ooh, Quinyon Mitchell.
Of the Philadelphia Eagles.
A rookie, right?
Yeah, he's a rookie.
Wow.
He was a rookie this season. And so the joy and the tenacity with which Bumberpuff plays, we'll see a lot of in Quinyon Mitchell.
Yep.
And he was a rookie this year. So there's one more photo of him.
Let me see if there is. I don't think there is. Oh, there was one, but it was the wrong format. It wouldn't play.
Sorry. Oh, well, then maybe should we just move on?
Move on. Okay, let's go.
We got a couple left. So this one, number 10, is Becca the Wrecker. She started in the...
Wait. Becca the Wrecker.
Becca the Wrecker. Oh, I said Wrecker.
I thought you said Wrecker.
Say
it again.
Becca the Wrecker?
Yep, let's go.
Yeah, Becca the Wrecker started her career in the GFL as a fullback and became a quarterback for the Ironeth Kraken. So
yes.
Who is your choice?
Well, she was a fullback for the Green Bay Packers, and she won a couple of Super Bowl titles in Tier 3. In the Galactic Football League, there's Tier 1, best of the best. If you finished final two, worst of the league or second worst of the league, you get dropped down to Tier 2. And then if you finish worse than that, you get dropped down to Tier 3. Tier 3 is NFL right now because all human players. She won a couple of titles at Lambeau Field with the Packers in Tier 3. And then she wound up in Tier 1 where she was not quite good enough to be a quarterback, or so we thought, and she was a fullback. And that person is Alec Ingold from the Miami Dolphins. Ingold, fullback for the Miami Dolphins, was a dual-threat quarterback at Bayport High School in Wisconsin, where he was named the AP Wisconsin Player of the Year and the Gatorade Wisconsin Player of the Year during his senior year as a fucking quarterback. He initially committed to Northern Illinois to play quarterback, but later accepted a scholarship from the University of Wisconsin as an undecided athlete, and now this beast of a man who can throw a ball is a fullback in the NFL, one of the most demanding positions for not only strength, speed, power, aggressiveness, but also intelligence. A fullback is a very, very smart player and has to be or can't make it.
So I have to make an exception here. I know Scott has been choosing everybody except for the Denver analog, but we had 3 emails from junkies. 2 of you are in the chat room tonight, but 3 emails from junkies saying you have to pick Becca the Wrecker and Alona Mar. And we can't, because of the thing that went wrong with the photos, I did upload a few photos of Alona Mar.
We'll get
Alona
to those
Mar
at the end.
Yeah, we'll go back there, but
American
3
hero.
of you.
American hero.
Yeah, she is she and her team this past Olympics won the very first medal that Americans have ever won for rugby, and now she's playing for a British team who, unfortunately, I can't remember, but somebody will put that in the chat room.
She's a delight, dude.
She's a delight.
Fucking delight.
And she is very, very much what I pictured in my head when I first read about Becca the Wrecker. That she looks
No
like
question.
with her long, thick braid down her back. The only difference is Ilona Mar is not black-haired and is also smaller physically than Becca the Recca is, but everything else. She exudes confidence. She exudes work ethic. She is powerful. She's a really good athlete. She's beautiful. She's not afraid of being beautiful and a killer. So I love that. So we'll show a few photos at the end of
We got
Ilona
those
Mar,
lined up. But you guys,
I had to mention
those of
that.
you who emailed in to mention her, good on you. She is absolutely and she is the model for what Becca the Recca is. Yeah.
And interestingly, we got 3 emails saying you have to do Becca the Recca and Ilona Mar, and no other emails with suggestions about analog. So I love that.
Okay. Now, are we to the ultimate? Is it?
Yeah, we have, I think, 1 more left. We have 2 more left actually, but because you asked me to move the tight end to the end. So the next one we have is Quentin Barnes.
All right. So this is the one everybody asks me, the author, about constantly. Is Quentin Barnes this guy? Is Quentin Barnes that guy? The delight of writing this series is for relatively young human beings who are football fans who discover the series and have no idea when the rookie came out many, many, many moons ago. Who write back like, bro, I totally know this guy is the guy who's Quentin Barnes. Is this your Quentin Barnes? I know it is, guy. Can you just write me back and just let me know this is the guy? My friends and I have a bet on it. It's never the guy I picked, because the guy I picked for Quentin Barnes, he is a combination of going way, way back, Jim McMahon of the Bears and Dante Culpepper of the Vikings. Dante Culpepper was a tight end sized person who was a successful starting quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings and had great seasons. And Jim McMahon, who won a Super Bowl for the Bears, was a non-religious person who wound up going to a religious university, BYU. They brought him simply because he played football. Mm-hmm. But he was a rebel at BYU. He was not a Mormon, and he was a rebel when he got the NFL. So those 2 guys together combined to make Quentin Barnes. However, in today's world, we have to look at who's got size, who's got speed, who's got toughness, who is willing to put his head down and take a hit, and
balloons are deserved.
Who can throw the goddamn ball, and who leads his team and is perfectly willing and just will take every tackle in the world to achieve what he's got. That person is oops, shit.
Oop.
Steve, edit that. Sorry. That person is none other than Bills quarterback Josh Allen.
Yeah, and the thing is, he's all those things you just said. This is the first season that the regular season was 17 games, and he absolutely was struggling on his last game, but pulled it out anyway, and pulled it out with all those things you just mentioned. He's got the playbook down. He's got the ability to see the field in that blink of time that you talk about, where he can see every option that he has on the field, and he gets the job done. And it's anybody's game this Sunday.
And for Josh Allen, if you tune into the games and watch Josh Allen play, it is shockingly similar to the way I envision Quentin Barnes playing. He will throw that ball, he will run that ball, and joy for the game, and will absolutely not shy away from contact at any point.
I also have to say, this past weekend, when the Bills beat the Ravens, the first thing he did when that game was over was run to the sidelines to Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson, my favorite player.
And it's stupid because that's what he should do, but he ran there, which was such a show of respect.
Yeah.
And it moves me. It was great. He did that, and they had that little private conversation before he did anything else. Before he congratulated his own teammates, he ran to the sideline and gave Lamar Jackson respect.
Yeah. You're choked up.
I'm choked up.
You're choked up.
Because
it's beautiful. It's lovely.
Because you watch players literally flatten someone all through the season, and their own teammates help them up. It's so rare for the person who knocked them down or the people of the other team who are next to them to help lift them up. Now, I'll also say I get choked up every time somebody's hurt on the field and every player on the field kneels. I find that very powerful and moving. But yeah, it's super beautiful to me that he did that.
Moving on, because we're running out of time. There
We
is a
got one
character in
more
the
left.
No, two more. There is a character in the GFL. His name is George Starcher. He is a tight end, large guy, great hands. Also, George is often talking about a religion that possibly only George knows about. And George brings a certain joy to the game, and that joy is transcendent from the game to we're not entirely sure that George doesn't think football is the only reality that actually exists other than the old ones.
So
And
your choice?
in the world, there's only one. There's only one who even compares to George Starcher, tight end for the Ironeth Krakens right now, and that is George Kittle. George
This
Kittle.
is such a good choice.
George Kittle, the delightful psychopath of the San Francisco 49ers, a gentleman that, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to enjoy the game of football and follow a single player, pick one player to follow, this is my pick. George Kittle is the embodiment of the joy of hard work, combat, and appreciation for everyone else who's playing the game. He is an absolutely delightful fucking human being, and I'm very happy to say that he is our George Starcher.
So I will mention that there on Netflix, there are two shows. One is called Quarterback. It's, I think, 8 episodes long, and one is called Receiver. That's season 2 of the same thing. And in Receiver, George Kittle is one of the receivers that they have followed through the season and developed the show for. My favorite moment from that series at all is the few times we see George Kittle at the beginning of a game running onto the field with his teammates, or off the sidelines, I guess is the better way to say that, not actually running onto the field for the first time, because he's mic'd up for the series. And the things he says are insanity.
He's a goof.
They're
He's
insanity.
a delightful
He's like,
fucking
we
goof.
get to do this? Woo-hoo! All sorts of yelling and screaming and loveliness, and it's super fun. And he is also another player, kind of like Amon-Ra St. Brown, who gets the job done any way he needs to get the job done.
He's a beast. Kittle's a beast.
And Scott and I had a conversation because in the show Receiver, we see them at home too. So his wife was a college athlete. And in my head, I thought, just because we see them at home, I thought she was almost as big as he is, because I see them together, like sitting down on the couch and stuff. And Scott was like, oh no. Oh no, he's a giant. And I had to look it up for myself, and he's a giant. He acts almost like a little kid running onto the field full of joy.
He does. He acts like we're all in the fucking 5th grade and we're gonna go out and play football. And like in our mind is this recess game is the most important game that ever happened. And I get to catch that pass. Are you kidding me? We get to do this. This is awesome. I'm so lucky to get to do this. And that is he embodies the joy of sport and the joy of football in itself. And then to finish things up,
we got one more actual GFL player, and that is our offensive lineman, left tackle for the Ironeth Krakens, Mumokilowe. Who's your pick?
I don't have a pick. Steve, edit this shit out. Oh. I texted it earlier like, I don't have a left tackle. I got shit for a left tackle.
Oh, I misinterpreted what you said.
That's okay. I don't.
Who did I pick?
I ran out of time. You didn't pick anyone. All we have left is, ready?
No, you did. Totally did. But I don't have
You didn't get the pictures.
Yeah, I couldn't. I ran out of time.
Okay. So we'll edit this for the podcast. But for those of you at home, Mumokilowe, left tackle for the Ironeth Krakens, is none other than Penei Sewell of the Detroit Lions.
Sure.
Who is just an absolutely stunningly impressive human being across the board. Born, gifted with the genetics of size, strength, speed, coordination. But that's not enough in the NFL. You can take those tools and never make it past college or high school. It requires an enormous amount of hard work, and it requires, frankly, a warrior mentality. You are going into battle every game, and Penei Sewell is just an absolutely amazing person to watch. I'm a huge fan. And those of you who don't know football, you may think quarterback, running back, receiver, everything happens in the offensive line. The offensive line determines whether a team has success or not, and Penei Sewell is in the dominant position of the offensive line. So we'll talk about him at another time. But bringing it back in, Steve, get ready. Here we go. just so we can get back to where we were. Great. And we're coming back in. And then to close this out, let us give another round of appreciation and applause as Americans
To Alona the
for
Wrecker?
this badass motherfucker, Alona Mar, who just, come on, dude. Watching this beast fucking carry the ball in rugby was just so goddamn, I'm an extremely proud American. There have been few times in my life I have been as excited to see one of my countrymen represent as Alona Mar, and this is absolutely Becca the Wrecker from the GFL series. You cannot find a better representation of her. So here we go. Look at this. And those of you listening at home, we have pictures of Alona up on the screen. Just the joy and the rage and the competitiveness and the on-field anger, which is immediately replaced by the end of the game sportsmanship. Wonderful human being. Love
I
it.
will say, just to tie this all together, we had at center, Scott picked Jason Kelsey. And when Alona Mar this past year was in the Olympics, Jason Kelsey and his family went to watch the Olympics. And there is beautiful video of Jason Kelsey getting verklempt that he might get to meet Alona Mar, which is a beautiful sort of conflagration of those two things. And you would think maybe kind of, you know, she's got a lot of moments like this where people who she would love to meet and respects as athletes and all that other stuff are literally fangirling to meet her. And that is true of Jason Kelsey. If you Google Jason Kelsey meeting Alona Mar in Paris, you'll see that moment where he's literally like tugging on his wife's shirt. Like, do you think she's going to come over? Do you think? And it's really, really sweet.
Oh my God. Just YouTube highlights. Which Olympics was it? 2024?
Yeah.
YouTube 2024 women's rugby highlights. Watch those human beings go in there and just fucking fisticuff central fucking. You're just like, just amazing. It's delightful. I love it.
Red Jacket Man on YouTube says, I know we're talking about the GFL, but I just got to know who was the inspiration for Scary Perry Dawsey, who is in Infected, and he was a college football player.
Romanowski, a linebacker for both the Raiders and for the Denver Broncos, Bill Romanowski, is the original inspiration for John Tweedy, and also a scaled down version of Bill Romanowski and Lyle Alzado, Raiders Hall of Famer, Super Bowl winner, is going to be Perry Dawsey. Because you can't make a rational character who goes to work in a cubicle based on Romanowski or Lyle Alzado. It just doesn't work. So you have to dial that back a couple notches. And that is Perry Dawsey. So there you go.
This was a ton of fun.
So much fun.
Yeah.
So much fun. Great
Thank you
job,
so
babe.
much.
Love it so much.
Thanks.
Those of you listening at home in the podcast, thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate you a ton.
That is it for this episode of Deep Cuts.
Next episode, we're going to imagine conversations between me, an author, a creator, the people's author, and some of my own creations. Apparently, I won't have control over my own creations to have these conversations, but we're going to have a talk. But that is it for this episode of Deep Cuts.
Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Done.
You guys, thank you so much for putting
Oh
up
my
with us,
God.
these technical difficulties. We did pretty good, though.
We did good. Low Nux.
Low Nux.
Listen, all you guys still hanging out with us. If I had not been so immersed in writing the second draft of the Crypt Book 2 and also finishing up Slay episode 80, swear to God, we'd have all this shit ironed out. But I do believe that while you are tolerating our technical incompetence at this moment, in the long run, when you have read Slay Book 3 for the third time to see how Rob and I layered that shit, I believe you will think back, you'll be very happy. Very, very happy.
We really appreciate you guys hanging out with us on Wednesday nights. We'll see you next Wednesday. Bye, guys.
There we go. Confirm.